I've seen a lot of things in my day.
Yeah.
As no man should ever have to see.
Like what?
I saw the day 100 Thieves played Fnatic on day 2 of Worlds 2018 in group stages.
Oh, what a day. What a day.
Some things are better left forgotten.
This is the hype video for Worlds 2019.
That's right. Or the next heist intro.
After we win it.
Yeah, that's right. Woo, wouldn't that be a fantastic story?
Yeah, you'd probably be hard pressed to find a bigger underdog right now.
Well, stranger things have happened. After all, this was the year a 16 seed took down a 1 seed in March Madness. So
that's right.
Like Kevin Garnett says, anything is possible. Welcome to the Den of Thieves podcast. He's that guy. I'm this guy.
We're those guys.
And we are those guys. And we're here to talk a little bit about the 100 Thieves game for today against Fnatic. And we are both so tired. Waking up. 5 our time was the game time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I actually feel pretty good.
Well, good for you, man, because I don't. And I don't. I look a hot mess too.
So I've decided the game, not so fun to watch, but I'm gonna get up, I think, every day for group stage and just watch the early games because it's amazing. It's such a good league.
It is amazing. And I will definitely be doing that for 100 Thieves. I can't promise anything for the other games, but
we've got no promises to make, so you're good. You're in good shape.
No promises to make. No guarantees will be given. Except for that, we'll be back and ready for action.
Yeah. When is Thieves' next game?
Tomorrow.
So are we doing this again tomorrow?
6 a.m. I mean, I'm waking up to watch. How about you?
I'm going to be up for sure. I was thinking I guess I won't get up for the 5 a.m. the game then in that case, but
yeah.
But are we gonna record a pod again, or is this
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I think today was a game time decision.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have G-Rex tomorrow at 6 a.m. Central.
G-Rex.
That's a full extra hour of sleep we get to have.
Hooray!
Hoorah!
Hopefully, it makes us play even better.
That's right. I mean,
is that how it works?
Waking up slightly more refreshed will surely help them play a little bit better.
Exactly.
So, I mean, obviously we lost the game. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today because there are lots of things to talk about, quite frankly. And we'll structure it. I mean, this is kind of a free-flowing, like I said, game time decision that we're going to have this pod. So
we may be back tomorrow.
We may be back tomorrow. We may be a little scattered today, but we're going to try and start with the game itself and then move on to the further implications for the rest of this World's group stage and beyond.
And beyond. Yeah.
That's right. You want me to run the draft? Start from the tippity top?
Let's run the draft.
So it would obviously be advantageous if we had a little more detailed notes about picking bands in order. So hopefully you have those, because all I have right in front of me is the finished product. Well, okay, we'll rely on our memories.
I mean, let's just take another aside. This is incredibly like on-demand podcasting.
Oh man, we got this.
When you watch the game at 5 a.m., there is no time to do in order picks and bands.
Well, we just need to talk about this. That's why we're here. So on our side, Ssumday went with Ornn, Anda with Graves, Ryu took Syndra, Rikara took Kai'Sa. That's a Rikara start, not a Cody Sun start, folks. Afro took Alistar, and then on the other side, Soaz with Sion. Broxa took Olaf into the jungle. Caps got Aurelia. Sigh.
Oh, yucky.
Reckless, who I'm about to just start calling Reckles all the time because that man needs to learn how to spell his own name. Got Zaya, and Hylissang took Rakan.
Reckles. I like Reckles a lot. Here's your bands in order. I got them for you.
Okay, you got them. Nice. So first three:
Akali, Pyke, Tristana, which I was a bit surprised to see.
Well, she is a little bit stronger now in this patch.
Yeah.
And I think Reckless has done a little bit of work on her. The question obviously is there was one mid ban.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, Akali, nightmare to play against for sure.
Yeah. And surely there's a problem with Caps in that he's real good.
Yeah.
And
He presents a problem.
real good on a lot of different champs.
Yeah.
So how high up is the Aurelia ban on priority?
I'd say pretty high.
I'd say higher than a Pyke ban.
I would as well. And this is just me repeating what the broadcast said because I haven't watched every game, but I think they said that Aurelia's been banned in every groups game so far, maybe every game at Worlds.
Well, it wasn't banned this morning.
Got through, snuck on through.
What were our final bans?
Final bans. Our second round of bans was at LeBlanc and Yasuo. So okay, 2 more mids.
So yeah, still trying to take out mids. So we had 2 more cracks at taking Aurelia from. Now, granted, LeBlanc is seriously a problem.
Oh, and he has had some disgusting LeBlanc plays this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that one.
No,
and honestly, I'm not that mad at the Yasuo ban either.
Yeah.
But I would have personally prioritized, with my silver knowledge, I still would have prioritized Aurelia over Yasuo.
Yeah, I think so. It is a really tough one. I mean, let's not overlook this. Like, there are not a lot of good choices when you're playing against Caps. Sure. I think in hindsight is always 2020, but it does feel like we maybe passed up the number 1 priority ban against him. We may have gotten the 2, 3, 4 priority bans, but when you miss the first, that makes his pick a bit easier, I'd say.
Especially after we burned 3 already. So
right.
Yeah, that was just really rough. And I think we're going to talk about the draft a little bit more than we typically do because that seems to be a source of frustration for many people. Like what I'm reading online, Twitter, Reddit, and everything. That's kind of where people have the most issues. And honestly, I kind of have issues with this draft too.
Yeah, that was my first reaction too. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jordan and I were texting each other as this game was going on, and we both had some serious doubts about this draft as soon as it happened. Well, now. Oh, go ahead. Make your point, and then I'll continue my rant.
Well, this is a point we'll come back to later. But I texted you yesterday with my prediction on how we would draft and win this game, and let me just say, it was the opposite. We drafted the opposite, which was a surprise to me. I was surprised. Yeah. But then the bans on the other side, not as important. But Urgot, Aatrox, Taliyah, Ryze, Kindred.
Makes sense. All of that stuff makes sense. Like Urgot's kind of a problem right now. Yeah. Even though have we ever seen Ssumday play Urgot? I don't think we have.
No, I don't think I ever have. Yeah. I bet he'd be good at it.
I bet he would be great at it. But they didn't ban Darius.
They didn't ban Darius. They didn't ban Gangplank. Gangplank doesn't seem as high priority this world so far.
But Ssumday is still a beast on Gangplank.
He still knows how to pull off.
Certainly a beast on Darius. So this is bringing up a question, one of the bigger questions, maybe the biggest question. Definitely a top 2 question. Are we doing Ssumday a disservice right now by putting him on something like an Ornn instead of a carry?
Yes.
All right, what's your take on this? Other than yes. Yeah. I mean, go into it.
So here, my a little bit more in-depth take is, I do specifically remember at one point it was as the Ssumday MVP chat was starting to bubble up, and probably said, and he was memeing. He said, "Well, too bad because I'm putting him on Ornn every game," and everybody laughed. Haha, that's very funny. Why would you do that? That would be silly. So it kind of, I mean, and I know, like, our data set here is one game, exactly one game. So this is not Ornn every game. You can't have that when you have one game that you've played. But it just feels like, why would we lead with that? Why would we lead with Ornn?
And sure, Ornn is a good champ to play into Sion.
Yeah.
But is he a good champ for Ssumday? I think we kind of found out the answer. I mean, Ssumday was definitely, in terms of laning, he was doing great. And no matter what you put that guy on, he's going to probably have the best game on the team. Okay.
Yes.
So
That's an important point.
Let's get that out of the way. No matter what he's playing, he's probably going to be our best player. Right. So that's, nothing. This is not a anti-Ssumday thing, obviously.
Oh, it's like, I think what we're getting at is he's going to be the best player on the team. The degree to which he is the best is in some way defined by how much ceiling you give him.
Yeah. And that begs the question, what do they know that we don't? Why put Ssumday on Ornn for this? Especially, was he first or second pick?
That's a good question. I don't know the order of picks. He was.
Prepared people such as us have these answers.
I usually do.
He was the first pick, so he was locked in first.
That is crazy. First pick Ornn. What? Because at least, even if you're not going to put him on a carry, you can float the idea that he may be, and try to dictate the picks of the other team in a way that you ultimately may not need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The threat is gone if you say our best player is going to play Ornn, so don't worry too much about top lane.
Right. So again, they must know something else happening in scrims, some strategy that they had that makes sense on paper, and it just didn't play out well here. I have faith that there was a great reason to put Ssumday on Ornn. I just don't know what that reason is. And when I look at our team comp, if I'm thinking of any team, so throw out the individual personalities and skill level of 100 Thieves, and just let's put together a nice team comp for a League of Legends team. This looks fine. This looks absolutely great. But I don't think it holds water when you're talking about the individual strengths and weaknesses of our players. And Ssumday was the most glaring example of this. I mean, maybe we just really, really, really wanted to have somebody that was more tanky on this team, because obviously there wasn't a lot of that going around, even though Alistar can get kind of tanky.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like, if you look at this comp without the names attached to it, it's like, oh, you guys got pretty lucky in draft there. You picked up some good power picks. I mean, the Kai'Sa Alistar, that's a great combo. You've got Graves in the jungle. He's got huge potential to pop off in matches, and we've seen Anda do that. Syndra can absolutely delete people in a second, which is, even more burst there for you. And then Ornn can set up a team fight. So, it's hard to look at this and say, like, what is this? Because we know what it is. It's a really strong team fighting comp. It just feels like I don't think that we are set up as a team right now to win team fights in Worlds. That's not how we're going to win our games, is by, playing lane close, setting up for team fights in the 25th minute or so, and then deleting teams and walking it down mid lane. Like, their teams are just too good to fall to that.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I was about ready to disagree with you on this, because I think in general that's the style we play, is we wait for the right team fight. We do a good job team fighting, and then that earns us the later victory.
Yeah.
But like you said, the competition that we're up against is going to be very tough to operate that way. And we have to be even more choosy. And what matters most is we need to have the weapons and tools available to take on those fights. Now, as the casters pointed out, and as YouTube chat is pointing out right now, Ssumday's build was a little strange too on this one, because he really wasn't building a lot of armor, and his order was kind of
he rushed Catalyst, and then he just kind of let it sit in his inventory for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it just did not really seem like what we would expect for the build in his situation, which is, again, not something we're used to seeing out of Ssumday. He's pretty much a no mistakes guy.
Well, and is that a mistake? I mean, build order is such a strange thing to me, because it's not like a micro mistake, right? It's a mistake on a different level. Like, was he analyzing the game wrong? Was he thinking that we wouldn't need that at the point?
Maybe there was a planned out strategy and planned out item timing, something that was going to happen if we got to a later part of the game in a better position.
Right.
but clearly that's not how it played out. And if it was, I mean, if it was something at least reasonably obvious, then certainly the casters would have pointed that out, right? The casters were also pretty confused about the build. So
as that was tilted.
Yeah, he was. So that was just something that was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
So that is to say, so let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's finish talking about the draft, and then let's talk about how the game played out, because I think there's a very important point to be made about this game, but I think we need to finish up on draft first. So obviously, you know, we weren't really pleased with our side, but also look at their side. I mean, they got we already talked about Aurelia, letting them have Aurelia, but they also got the Xayah Rakan duo.
Mm-hmm.
And they locked that in last, right? So those were their final 2 picks. So it's not like we didn't have a chance to interrupt that either.
Wait, that couldn't have been their final 2 pick, because we banned mid laners in our second round of bans.
Maybe I'm looking at this out of order. Hold, please. What I'm seeing may not be in order. Gotcha. But no matter how it shook out, we did have a chance to interrupt this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always do. Yeah.
So, and that's not something that we did. So you've got that bot lane having exaggerated strength, and then you've got Aurelia, who's obviously a huge problem on her own, not to mention in the hands of Caps, and Sion, which was a problem for us in the TSM series. Now, granted, there was no Zillion this time to give Sion like 4 pops or whatever, but still, there was that piece of it that was present. So I don't know about you, but my optimism coming out of the draft was devastated.
It was gone. I mean, it's worth revisiting, right? That if we got this lineup in regular season, I think we'd be feeling good. We'd be feeling pretty good. This just isn't that. And what I want to ask is our optimism in every game going to be based solely on who Ssumday is playing? Because I don't know how you could have drafted differently in the rest of our lineup to be more confident, right?
Perhaps Ryu on a different champion that he's played a little bit more, even though, you know, theoretically Syndra can do some things, you know, in this matchup, that's fine. But, you know, it's Cap, so it's kind of a throwaway for this one. But other than that, yeah, I mean, like, Andon Graves is fine.
Like Syndra.
We know Aphromu's good at Alistar, and Kai'Sa's pretty much like the ubiquitous good bot lane pick.
Yeah. It's the strongest in the meta right now. So it's just like, you know, that's what is, I think, more concerning to me, is I look at this lineup, and if you cover up Ssumday on the page, you're like, oh, all right, we're in good shape. You know, maybe Graves you look at and say, okay, could we get somebody with a little bit more utility? Maybe. But you know, like, there are minor tweaks. But I don't know if we should count on getting this good a draft in in other games either, right?
That's fair to say. Except for, you know, maybe with the improvement of a Ssumday pick. But on the other hand, there's 2 parts of the draft, right? There's what you get and what you let them have.
Yeah. And I think I would say this good a draft outside Ssumday, because I think we can always improve that.
Yeah. And certainly we can do a better job of what we let the other team have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are going to need to do that against IG.
I would absolutely expect and hope to see the Aurelia trauma ban. Like, if we don't get that in the first wave of bans, game over.
I'm fine if we use all 5 bans on Rookie when we play IG. I'm totally fine with that.
So it raises another point. We have talked up Ryu throughout the course of the season. He was just outclassed. There's no other way to put it. It was solo deaths in lane, no jungle pressure. He was just outplayed. So that is not what I expected to see coming into Worlds. You know, on a previous pod, I
was surprised by your previous take when you said that it'll be close with an edge to Caps. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be close.
Oh, if I said that, that's
that we have sung Ryu's praises as a very solid and even good player for us. Mm-hmm. I think he tilted a little bit in this one, and no matter who it is, I mean, Rookie's maybe the only person at Worlds that can keep up with Caps, right? So no matter who it is, they're probably going to get beat pretty bad by Caps in lane.
Yeah.
But but Ryu kind of went off the deep end in this one. So we can go ahead and own that this was a bad game from Ryu.
Yes.
And those are going to happen. And honestly, for him on 100 Thieves, those games have been few and far between.
Right. That's why it was so surprising.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get super mad about that or focus on that, even though he fed Caps. That is what it is. So
and
there's no real point dwelling on that in my mind, unless this is habitual against every team we see in Worlds. Then maybe we have something to talk about. But one matchup against Caps, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not good, but whatever.
Well, it's kind of like it's that bigger question of what do we aspire to, and if what we aspire to is to be competitive on the world stage, then and granted, Ryu kind of got the nightmare draw here. And I was certainly too optimistic saying. Now, I think it is always exciting to see if you're playing against the very best in the world. He's playing against consensus, the best 2 mid laners in the world in the group stage.
Yep.
So the opportunity is incredibly high. And even if you just hold your own, it's like, yeah, he got out CS, but he didn't die 3 times solo in lane. So that's what I was excited about is, we kind of get to measure up our team in that context. And we're off to a rough start in that sense.
Yeah.
Because we're used to kind of getting beat like that. And not even like that. That was really kind of a unique example of us getting stomped. But usually that's bot lane, right? At least in the last few weeks of play.
Yeah.
So that was a
well,
shock.
Okay. You're teeing this next thing up. Okay. So let's go ahead and start talking about this game.
Yeah.
So what we saw in my mind, like we were doing okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
We weren't getting smashed. We weren't ahead and we weren't even, but we were still doing okay.
We were in it
we were in it and everything was fine until this bad team fight on bot at 11 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, here's what happened. So first of all, leading up to this, Anda was crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Anda was looking fantastic. His pathing was cool. He made great decisions. He sniffed out a couple traps.
Mm-hmm. He prevented a couple massacres bot lane, maybe one massacre, but
yeah, or at least held it off.
Yeah,
for a little while. But
put his finger in the dam.
He looked really, really good.
Yeah,
and Ssumday was doing fine. Ryu was a little bit behind, and Rikara was a little bit behind as well. Okay, but we hit this 11:30 mark. So this is when right before this is when Cap solo kills Ryu mid lane, which was bad. That was a bad up too far Ryu.
Yeah.
Easy stun for Caps, and he finished him off pretty quick. Okay, so that was bad. But again, whatever.
Yeah, one loss, one solo kill in lane is not going to end the game.
The problem is almost immediately after that is when everything went south on bot lane at the same time. So I took a snapshot of the game state basically right after the Ryu kill. Okay. Yeah. So 11 minutes, 30 seconds. Gold is 17.7K them, 17 even to us. So they're up 700 gold, but they got first blood. And so that's really, besides the first blood, it's fairly even.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at CS. Ssumday's up 4 CS on top, even though Turret's been taken down a little bit. So Turret's down maybe a third health, which is not great. Again, it's not great, but at least he's up CS.
Yep.
Anda is up 2 CS and crushing it. Ryu, like I said, he just got killed by Caps. At that time, he's only down 1 CS, and his turret's only down about 1/6 of its health.
Oh.
Okay. Then you look bot lane. Rikara is down 19 CS. So that's a pretty big gap. At the same time, he's taking advantage of Aframu doing his support heal, whatever you call that thing, and the money sharing and all that. So how
much does Aframu have at that point?
Well, yeah, when you do an aggregate between the whole bot lanes on either side, then we're only down 4. Okay. Now there's still something to be said about the fact that Afro's needing to last hit so many minions and heal up Rikara.
I don't know if that's a need though, because it's more beneficial, right? Because you both get gold for it.
Yeah, and I don't know how the exact economics break down, so I don't know if this is economically a wash or if it's a little bit bad. Yeah, YouTube chat, help us out here. But either way,
your point stands either way.
Yeah, he's not doing great down there, but it's not a total loss.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But again, turret's down about a third of its health, so we're definitely losing there, and we're losing top a little bit also.
We're feeling the pressure at this point,
but we're not super far behind. This game is well within reach. Okay. But then that's when everything goes wrong. So they get, what is it, 3 kills?
Yeah.
Down the bottom. Ssumday TP's in, and initially it looks like we're going to be able to turn this thing around, and then it just does not shake out well for us. And man, that was just like everything from that point on went south.
And you know what this reminds me of is, so when we started talking about this, we said getting solo killed in lane is not going to lose you the game. At a certain level of play, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if, and we noticed this very early on, like kind of beginning of this season, the summer season, or just the season overall. We would watch some Korean matches and we'd be like, man, they get 1 kill and they punish.
Yeah, and it's like no one dies, and when they do, it's pretty much game over.
It's game over. And they grind you down, and they punish you in every part of the map. Top, jungle, mid. If you get killed in bot lane, you can expect that there's going to be this wave that hits on all those different parts of the map. And I kind of feel like that's what we started to see here.
That's exactly what happened, because they pretty much immediately got all of our outers down.
Right, from that point.
One team fight. So that one fight,
after that one mid kill.
Well, yes. So the mid kill turned into the bottom team fight, which obviously went horrible, and that turned into all of our outers gone, and them getting a second Drake, or actually even a third a little bit later. I mean, short term it was 2, but they eventually did get the third Drake uncontested. Like, Fnatic did such an excellent job of making us pay for those 2 mistakes that the game was kind of unrecoverable at that part.
Yeah, it was like the snowball had started to roll down the hill.
Yeah, and suddenly we were down 3K. Even though we picked off Rift Herald from him, we stole that basically. It didn't even help us.
Yeah, did we get 8 turret off of that?
I don't know.
I don't think we did.
I don't remember. I was too distracted by how much we were losing everywhere else. And the whole time this is going on, like I'm watching what Ssumday is doing, and honestly, he's still outplaying so much. Like, you could just, with the way that they were trading, he was predicting everything. He was always, in the right spot and everything. Like I said, he did get turret down earlier, so it must have been just like bad back timing or something. I didn't even really process that it was happening. But when you're talking about like 1v1, Ssumday was just definitely a plane higher than SOAS.
Yeah.
So this thing, I think, in my opinion, this snowballed in what is pretty much the worst possible way for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we lost another team fight. We were down CS. We lost the Baron, and everything just completely fell apart. But the way I see it, there are different ways to lose a match. Okay. And there are ones that are more dignified than others, and ones that are more tilting than others. But for us, this is how it broke down. I'm going to pull up my tweet on this, because I tweeted about this when I was pretty upset. So let me pull this up. Okay, so this is what I said. So honestly, probably the worst way to lose for the team's mentality. So from a perspective of what's the team's mentality, just take in all this information. Rikara's CS was miles behind, right? So he finished down like 80, I think it was.
Yep.
Ryu got eaten alive by Cap. So it wasn't just a loss. It was like embarrassing. People are going to be talking about this like they talk about Faker outplaying him, basically. And doing such a good job in the jungle as like, this new member of the team who is a
First
question
game of the
mark in
world.
somebody. Yeah, first game of the world is question mark in a lot of people's eyes. Him doing excellent work and not seeing anything in return for it. Ssumday, and the Ssumday conversation is a large one, remember, because his contract's up at the end of this year. And he's playing in Korea right now for an NA team. He's on a less than ideal champ. He gets solo killed at the very end.
I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
Yeah. And that was a tilt. That was a tilt. Like he just, whatever, I'm going to end Cap's game. I'm going to end his perfect game or whatever. And it didn't work out. He got outplayed, but it was a tilt. And then the whole thing quickly snowballed out of control. So it wasn't like we really felt like we had a chance at any point.
Well, then you didn't mention Afro, but he had a couple of really good engages that just fizzled.
Yeah. So in my mind, it's like, is there a worse way for us to lose when it comes to mentality?
I can't, other than like,
I can't script it going worse, honestly.
Yeah, I can't, I can't think of what it would be. We talked about this a little bit today. Did you want to keep that thread going? I don't want to take you off that topic if you have more.
No. I'm just making this point that
it's bad.
It was bad in a way that it couldn't have gone worse.
so yeah, I will agree with you wholeheartedly on that. One of the things I've done throughout the season is try to figure out, like, when things aren't going well for us, who owns which share of the blame, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that people that Anda gets criticism for is his Drake control, and it's low. I think I'd have to look at the stats to get a sense for what it is actually over the season, but I feel like everyone feels like it's low, and I think there's certainly a sense that it's lower than it was when Meteos was here. So there's a ton that goes into a conversation like that, right? It's very complex, but I think, and I texted you about this morning, but the first Drake we lose is because he had been down, putting his finger in the dam in the bottom lane to prevent a double kill, basically.
Sure.
And it's straight after that they get the Drake. So it's like, I think on paper, there are a lot of stats you can look at and say, man, we got smoked everywhere. It was bad. We got 1 kill total. We got 1 turret total. We had Rift and we got 1 turret total. We got no Drakes. We got blanked, basically, in almost every sense of the game. And I think, so the purpose of me asking this and bringing it up is, like, Rikara, right? His CS being so low, and we talked about this too, but how much of that can we put on him? And how much of that is just basically him playing 2v3 in bot lane, essentially, for a lot of the game, because Caps roamed at will, because their jungler had, the only place their jungler had to pay any attention was bot lane. He did not have to go top. There's no kill pressure. There's no turret threat top lane. Ssumday was outplaying him, and he was basically just getting incremental gains over time. So it was like, you could count on there being at least 3 people floating around, maybe even 4 in bot lane. And that changes the way you have to play the game. So you have to be super conservative. You have to hang out under your turret. Like, it's just not, you're going to lose CS. You're going to start to fall further and further behind. And then after a certain point of the game, when you're getting crushed everywhere on the map, you have to stop farming. You're just trying to survive.
Yeah. And so what you're bringing up is going to be probably the most frustrating thing for 100 Thieves fans, because if you properly contextualize Rikara while we're trying to make it, trying to make up our minds on him,
mm-hmm.
you've got this not a dichotomy, but you've got this situation where basically you're right, where he's getting camped basically during this, right? Like, yeah, he's being exploited. Bot lane kind of ends up being a 3v2. Yes, that's right. And how do you outplay that? Yes, that's right. But the counter is, would they be doing that if they didn't sense a vulnerability there in bot lane? Mm-hmm. So in other words, say Double Lift is our ADC. Okay. And we've got someone who's like recognized as being a strong, competent ADC. Are they going to try the same thing? We don't really know.
Yeah.
We don't really know. And I would make the case that a lot of the times, when you're game planning, you are trying to exploit the other team's weakness. And so I think that's why the attention is there, is because it's perceived as a weakness. And then it becomes self-reinforcing with the fact that, he's the one down there, and if they're 3v2ing him, then it's really going to be hard for him to come out on the other side successful. Yeah. So there's going to be a massive difficulty in evaluating whether or not Rikara is really worthy of the playtime that he's getting.
Right.
Whether or not he truly is a better option than Cody Sun.
Which we'd highlighted as one of the most important things for the team to do during this tournament.
Yeah, and if, again, I'll say this again, I'm on record. If it's me, that's what I'm doing with this tournament, is figuring out which one of these guys gives me the better chance to win. Right. Now, we pointed out in last week's podcast, we pointed out how much playing time Rikara was getting with Aframu in their boot camp and all that stuff, and they were duoing together. So we kind of saw something like this coming, and maybe for everyone, it was a little less of a surprise that he started this game. It didn't go well for him here. We saw it go well for him. The first game he played against Liquid was amazing. First game he played against TSM was amazing. The first game he played against Fnatic was the opposite. Now, a lot of people are pointing to this and saying, why in the world is Rikara starting? Why, we're at Worlds. Why isn't Cody Sun playing? Cody Sun is clearly better. There are trade-offs for each player, and we still don't know what Rikara can do. And I'm not ready to take this one result. Even looking back at how the Liquid series didn't go well for him in the end, right? Like it seemed like every game he got worse basically in the Liquid series. I still don't think the sample size is big enough for us to definitively say whether or not this is a bad move or a good move. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying the move is a good one. I'm not saying it's a bad one yet. The jury's still out. So I'm still saying, let's give Rikara maybe a couple more games.
We get 6.
If truly, I was going to say, we play each of these teams twice. So truly, if the objective is, hey, let's figure this thing out. I mean, obviously you want to win Worlds, right? But you can split the games. You can put them up against each other, So we got Rikara for these 3 games, Cody Sun for the second set of 3, and let's see what they both do.
I think that
Cody Sun will CS better and maybe stay in it, but maybe Rikara won't make the dumb moves that cost us the entire game, like we've seen Cody do a couple of times. That's a little harsh, but it's kind of true.
It is kind of true.
So I think everybody who's calling for like Rikara to be taken out already, I would just say we don't have enough information yet. I understand that it looks really bad right now, but
I think we
would do incomplete work if we didn't see it out a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, one way you cannot manage your team is to play somebody until they lose and then bench them, and then play the other person until they lose and then bench them. And if they just trade back and forth losses, you keep trading them like that. You can't do that. So at some point you're going to have to say, we are comfortable losing some games.
And that's something we talked about with like time management, right? Like you have a certain amount of time to prepare for Worlds. It behooves you to make a choice down there and to go with it and stick it out, because you don't want to keep switching things up. That makes it harder for Aframu. That makes it harder for the rest of the team as a whole to coordinate. The players are going to play in different styles. So yes, it's obviously better to make a decision, and you don't want to go back and forth.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm still fine with like if they split, 3
sure.
games Rikara, 3 games Cody Sun. I think especially if they're sequential like that, so that the change isn't quite as dramatic. But all I'm saying is we've seen Rikara be really great, and we've seen him be not great. Maybe he just needs some time to be more consistent, and maybe if not meet in the middle, he is a higher level. There's a ceiling there that could be pretty high for someone who is making their whole debut in professional career as in the playoffs. And
he's only basically ever played in elimination games. It's crazy.
So I get it. I understand the frustration, and it does really suck to see him kind of get eaten alive and the CSing go so bad, especially. That's for some reason I'm really keyed in on the CSing. But It's just, we just have to be more patient.
I think for me, I have to ask myself, would playing Cody Sun have materially changed the outcome of that game? And I feel pretty confident that the answer is no. And it's because we lost through mid lane. And so, would we have lost more gracefully with Cody? Maybe. But it's not one of those where it's like, if we would have just played Cody, he is so good at playing defensively under turret. He's never been killed under turret. People try to dive him and they get killed, right? That's like, oh yeah, well, that's the guy we should play then, right? Because that's what happened through the whole game. But that's not what, like, Rikara wasn't our defeat condition in this game. He didn't win it for us, but neither did anyone else. Right. So I just feel like that argument of you got to bench Rikara, it's like, what? He wasn't the problem. He wasn't the solution, but he certainly wasn't a problem either.
Well, he wasn't the key problem, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that too. I'm like I said, I don't want to write off the people who are calling for Cody Sun to be played, because they have a point, to an extent, for sure. So all I'm calling for is for us to remember what our expectations should probably be here. And if we're being realistic, it's going to be really tough to beat Fnatic anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we are where we thought we would be in terms of results. Maybe a little worse off in mentality than we thought we'd be, but at least, on paper, the results is pretty much what we expected.
I think it's very fair to say that we're worse off mentality wise, because I think your point of like, this is the worst way we could have lost is true. And there were a lot of scenarios that we could have seen and we imagined where we didn't lose in this fashion. That would have felt different.
Yeah. Here's what I did not foresee. I did not foresee watching the replay at the end of the game of them just killing everybody before they're advancing onto the Nexus, and hearing an EU player in a crazy accent speaking English saying, what does he say? He was like, "I'm going ham on all of them." Did you hear that? Yeah, I actually wrote this note down. I don't know. I didn't catch who it was on Fnatic, but someone's like, "I'm going ham on them." Like, that sucks.
Oh, that hurts.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm honestly worried about like the solo kill that happened to Ssumday. That concerns me. That kill is worth so much more than one kill.
It was a tilted kill. Whatever. That happens at the end of a game.
I know, but it's one of those where it's like, we know where Ssumday's mentality is going into the series. That doesn't help in any way.
Yeah. Well, it's a rough day. But let's just so actually, I don't even know why I did this, but after the end of the games, for some reason, I just went to all of the players' Twitters and tweeted them something really quick about this was one game, we reset, we get ready for tomorrow.
Yep.
That's all it is. And that's kind of the attitude that we need to have as fans, I think, is not to be super dramatic about this, because like I said, at the end of the day, we lost a game to the #1 seed in the EU. Okay, cool. Yeah. And you have bad games sometimes, you have good games. Sometimes you most of the times you lose your bad games. Sometimes you win your bad games. Most of the times you win your good games. Sometimes you don't. It's just like, I don't want to read too much into this one loss. Now, G-Rex is looking pretty good, pretty solid.
Yeah.
So I watched the G-Rex game against IG. And for the first, 15 minutes or so, they were actually doing very well. And in fact, I would say they were kind of in the lead for a while on MVP, which is no joke. So
accomplishment in and of itself.
G-Rex is going to be a tough challenge. Okay. So we have to be prepared for the possibility of dropping a game against G-Rex. And we have to be mentally just able to shake that off and keep playing. And that's where maybe Rikara has an advantage in that sense. Someone who's just new to this whole thing and getting thrown into the fire can just be like, I don't even know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to keep playing.
I can't change what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. We might get a little bit of that, but I just don't want us to get tripped up by one loss. And it seems like the rest of NA, we know 100 Thieves gets so much hate all the time from the other NA teams about like, oh, they're like the 4th best team. They shouldn't even be there or whatever. The most ridiculous one of which I heard was Echo Fox is so much better and would be so much better in this slot. And I'm thinking like, we've won our last 5 against Echo Fox. Like we lost to them once at the beginning of Spring Split, and we've won every other game against them. Like, well, how does that work? I mean, if you want to say TSM, then maybe there's a little bit of that. But did you see that? You saw that tweet from Parth, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of TSM, like, you know, you've got Parth basically saying that the hate on 100 Thieves isn't deserved, and that, you know, they have a right to be, you know, a representative for NA. Like, this is the exact tweet. He says, I don't understand how NA fans are flaming 100 Thieves. They did most things right as a new organization and made it to Worlds in their first split. They were consistent the entire year and earned the honor to represent NA. So to me, that's kind of a mic drop. Like if Parth is saying that.
Right. Very well said.
That's how it is. So it's the other people reacting to this. It's insane to me. Like, I get that some people believe that maybe TSM's in better current form than we are. That may be true, whatever. Like,
it's not based on who is the best right now.
Right. It's the world getting to Worlds is based off of what you do over the course of spring and summer splits. And clearly we've earned that. So we need to just, as a fan base, not be dramatic and not be toxic and just be supportive. And if we lose, then we lose with hopefully a little more grace than we lost with today. And if we win, then we are, you know, we celebrate that win, even if it's just 1 or 2 wins. Like this is the first time that this team has even been a team, and they're already, you know, playing with the top 16 teams in the entire world.
Well, and
not
I think,
bad.
Yeah. And I think that we also have to keep in mind, like, there are still things that you gain from experience and playing in a tournament like this, whether you win a game or not. That you learn so much about your squad, about the players, about their ceiling, about how they stack up in this peer set, right? And if you don't make it here, you don't earn the right to know that about your players. And so if what we want to be is the 3rd best team in NA, then all we need to do is look at how we play every week. But if we long-term want to be one of the best teams in the world, then we're going to have to play games against other teams from around the world in a competitive setting where there are stakes on the table. And if you lose those games and you just get pissed and you just blame it on whatever, that we suck as an organization, we suck, you're losing access to this information that so few organizations actually get. And maybe that information is, this person's pretty good in NA and they're not really on the same level as the other players in the world. And that's valuable information, because other people won't know that until they actually get there. And so if our long-term ambition is to play on this stage, then we have to learn as much as we can in these, at least in these 6 games, maybe more. And then take that into next season and make staffing decisions based on that.
Right. And the reason why that is the truth is because that's not excusing whatever mistakes we're making or whatever poor performance we have. It's collecting data in those moments so that those things can be fixed. I mean, clearly the team right now is not clicking the way that we've seen it click even in this summer split.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. We're still figuring out those pieces of it. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, we weren't really expected to get out of groups. Like, we're the 3 seed, right? If you want to look at it that way, we're kind of like the 3 seed of this group, right? So if we don't make it out of groups, that's kind of what we were supposed to do.
Right.
We learned in the middle of that. Now we can still be optimistic. Crazy things can happen, right? And maybe Cody Sun gets back in the game. Things are radically different. Maybe they go ahead and put Ssumday on a carry type champion, and he goes off and just destroys everyone. We just don't know what's going to happen. We just need to take the temperature of the room after each game and make sure that we're not overreacting. That's all I want. That's all I want to say. That's like my constant point about being a fan of 100 Thieves and interacting with the other fans in NA, the fans of other orgs, is just like, let's be objective and accurate about the way that we're measuring this team's success.
Right.
Because we are more than what has just happened in this last game.
Right.
And there's a lot of good to go with the sometimes kind of bad that we see.
Yeah. So, and if all we take from Worlds is a chip on our shoulder, then it's been a failure. Like we have to take a lot more than that from this, whether or not we get a win or not. Like for example, what happens when we get crushed in mid lane? That is a scenario and a question that we have never been able to ask and answer about this team, because there's no team in North America with as dominant a mid laner as what we just played this morning. So now we know, right? And now we can learn from that, and now we can plan accordingly. Guess what?
Maybe that helps us when we play IG.
Exactly. Like we're going to have another chance at that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when was the last time Echo Fox scrimmed against one of the top 2 mid laners in the world? You learn a lot from those games. We've learned a lot more than Echo Fox has about their squad in the last 24 hours. And if we leave that because it feels bad to get beat badly, then we've messed up. So we can't mess up in that way.
Yeah.
That would be a failure.
Well, that being said, let's start wrapping this up. And G-Rex is in, what is it, like
14 minutes?
8 hours? 14 minutes. So G-Rex is coming up fairly soon. What are your thoughts on how we're going to do against them? What should we take away from this game? What should we be watching for?
I didn't get to watch them today. I did have it like on the side as I was doing errands and stuff. I mean, that's a team that came to play, and they have shown that they have players who can stand up with the best in the world. So I think like we've got to be realistic. It's going to be a really tough match. And we can't assume that just because they're from an emerging region, if I don't even know if LMS is considered that anymore, but that doesn't mean anything basically. So what do I expect? What I hope to see is that we try a different strategy. Like there are plenty of teams around the world who play through their top lane. And I think we need more experience with that. So let's do that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we take this opportunity to try a different strategy too. Especially with PK being, maybe the strongest member on this G-Rex roster, him being up top. I say it's in our best interest right now in this game and beyond the games, and just thinking about the team as a whole, to put Ssumday in the best position to succeed. Mm-hmm. So I hope that we change our strategy a little bit to maybe see that happen. And who knows, maybe we get a good result from it. Yeah. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be close, but I think it's winnable. And I really, really hope that we get a win here so that I don't have to listen to all the other NA teams continue to just ignore everything that happened for summer and spring and say how bad 100 Thieves is.
They will continue to say that regardless of the outcome. We could beat them 20 kills to 0 in 14 minutes, and they'd still say that we're trashed here.
Right. Yeah, like I saw, I think it was Sven tweeted something about like Ryu getting destroyed by Caps today. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, Ryu's at Worlds.
Yeah, right. Where are you at?
Yeah. I really hope that we get these wins, definitely against G-Rex, to at least meet what people would be expecting from us, even though G-Rex is going to be tough. So yeah. I think the G-Rex games are probably going to be among the most exciting games for us. Mm-hmm. And let's
hope for a good game.
Let's go out and get a win.
Let's get a W. Let's leave with a feather in our cap.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I think that'll do it unless you got anything else.
That's good for me. Yeah.
Well, let's get some sleep. Let's get this G-Rex win.
Get back at it.
Who knows? We may be here again tomorrow night.
I mean, Hey, Worlds happens once a year, right? Got to make the most of it.
Yeah, yep, that's right. So let's do this thing, baby.
All right. 100 on 1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 100. You didn't do it.
I know. I was too laughing.
Oh, I was too laughing.
I don't know why. We've never ended a pod like that. I'm not sure why I picked today to suggest that.
We still haven't ended a pod like
That's
that.
true. That's true. I don't know if we should start that. I think that's the teams.
What we should say is thanks for listening, everyone.
Take care.
And yeah, we'll get a win tomorrow.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.